going live, wee, going live, going live, going live, going live. Hey, what's going on YouTube? It's Unger to the Max here. A salute to you. And to start off this live stream, thought you would be surprised to know that I got my wisdom teeth taken out Friday, and I'm doing fine. I only had the gauze in on the way home, and I've been fine. I haven't really been swelling at all. I haven't really had to take any pain medication, just a couple Motrin, but I've been fine. Apparently, I'm like a miracle child, because for most people, like, they'd be like on the couch with ice or heat packs on their cheeks, trying to cool the pain and taking pain medication left and right. So apparently, I'm a miracle child. I don't know. I think it's just that I have a high pain tolerance. I don't know. But anyway, it's Sunday, and I've been thinking, and I saw a rumor, I can't confirm anything, but I saw a rumor that Kevin Durant met with the New York Knicks and had a secret meeting, I should say, with the New York Knicks and have a handshake agreement. Again, that's just a rumor. And I'm going to give my thoughts about that and what that could mean if Durant goes to New York and if I think that's the right move. And, you know, I'm definitely going to talk about that. But there's something else I want to start with. And I know I've mentioned it before, but it's because I'm frustrated about it. And I have a passion about it. And it's iTunes. So I might be one of the few people that does this. Unemployed Mario Yamasaki. Go Rams. Okay. We'll see what happens week 3 when you come to Cleveland to play us on Sunday Night Football. We'll see. Whoops. I meant to write week 3, not week hashtag. My mistake. Let me redo that. There we go. So anyway, I want to start off this live stream by discussing iTunes. Now, you know, I'm a sports YouTuber. When will I have my own show on ESPN? I don't know. That won't be for a long time, unemployed Mario Yamasaki. So, I don't know. But anyway, I might be one of the few people that do this, but I love going back and watching old NBA games on my iPad, whether that's the 2018 Eastern Conference Finals Game 3 between the Celtics and Cavaliers, or 2016 NBA Finals Game 7, Cavaliers and Warriors, when the Cavaliers came back from a 3-1 deficit to beat the Warriors to win their first championship in franchise history and win the Cleveland's first win a championship for the city of Cleveland for the first time in 52 years. Although the Cavaliers were not, I repeat, the Cavaliers were not the first team, were not the first to bring a championship to the city of Cleveland in 2016. That honor belongs to UFC fighter Stipe Miocic, who won the heavyweight championship against Fabrizio Verdum at UFC 198 in Curitiba, Brazil. He brought the first championship to Cleveland in 2016, which was then followed by the Lake Erie Monsters. Of course, now they're called the Cleveland Monsters, but at the time they were called the Lake Erie Monsters, they swept the Hershey Bears in the 2016 Calder Cup Finals, which is just a step below the Stanley Cup playoff finals. Unfortunately, the Boston Bruins will be in those. Yes, and it's awesome that you're giving Stipe Miocic his props. I didn't know that you watched MMA. Oh yeah, I'm a huge UFC fan. I actually do. I haven't done a video for this in a while, but I do have a playlist called Talking UFC. And actually I'll incorporate a little bit of that. But anyway, so I will get back to that. Thank you so much for reminding me about that unemployed Mario Yamasaki. I'm actually going to touch on that a little bit in this video. So thanks. Really appreciate it. And I'm not just saying that. I actually mean that. But so Stipe brought the first championship back to Cleveland, to the city of Cleveland in 2016, which was then followed by the Lake Erie Monsters when they swept the Hershey Bears in the Calder Cup Finals. I was at Game 4 when the Monsters won it, thanks to Oliver Bjorkstrand scoring the goal with like 1 second left in overtime. And then, of course, a couple weeks after that, the Cavaliers came back from a 3-1 deficit to defeat the Golden State Warriors in the 2016 NBA Finals. Now, I will say, Draymond Green's suspension did help us win that championship. I'm not going to deny that. But I'm not saying that's the main reason we came back. I mean, we came back because of LeBron James and Kyrie Irving, and Kevin Love played well in that series. And I think that if Kyrie didn't get hurt in Game 1 of the NBA Finals the year before, and Kelly Olynyk hadn't been such a jackass in Game 4 of the first round against when the Cavaliers played the Boston Celtics, we would have won the championship in 2015. That's the only reason Golden State won that championship in 2015 is because we didn't have Kyrie Irving or Kevin Love. LeBron only had Matthew Dellavedova. And Dellavedova is a good player, and he had a couple good games in that series, but it just wasn't enough. So anyway, I actually want to talk about the UFC. Thanks again, unemployed Mario Yamasaki. So UFC 238 is about to happen. And the main event is for the vacant UFC Bantamweight Championship because TJ Dillashaw had to relinquish the belt due to a failed... I don't even know if it was a failed drug test or what, but it was something like he had some substance in his body and he gave up the belt. So UFC flyweight champion, that's 125 pounds, Henry, thank you, EPO. Thank you, unemployed Mario Yamasaki. Appreciate it. You know a lot about UFC, dude. But anyway, so Henry Cejudo, the UFC flyweight champion, which, as I said, is 125 pounds, is moving up to try and take the Bantamweight Championship, which is 135, and he will be facing the number one contender, Marlon Moraes. And that will be the main event for UFC 238 in Chicago. The co-main event is for the Women's Flyweight Championship. Valentina Shevchenko will defend her belt against another Clevelander, also from Strong Style, Jessica Ai. So hopefully Jessica will defeat Valentina and bring that belt back to Cleveland. And then at UFC 241, Stipe will get his revenge against Daniel Cormier, and we'll have two UFC champions in Cleveland. That would be great. Yeah. So UFC 238 should be a pretty good card. But I'm disappointed in the UFC. I don't mind that UFC is on ESPN. I don't mind that at all. But here's where I have a problem. Now, I thought that when the UFC said they're going to ESPN, I thought they were going to do have UFC fight nights on actual ESPN, or have have the pay-per-views on ESPN. I don't know, something like that. But no, instead, UFC is doing most of their things on ESPN Plus, which you have to pay extra for. And then on top of that, let's say if I want to watch UFC 238, for example, you still have to pay the $67 or however much money it is. So and the stream constantly crashes. That part I didn't know because I haven't watched a fight on ESPN yet. But it's just stupid. Okay, so the prelims for UFC 238 I think are going to be on ESPN, but I don't have ESPN Plus. So how am I supposed to watch UFC 238? I don't know if I would be able to because I'll be working at an overnight summer camp. But anyway, if I wanted to watch it, how would I? Because I don't have ESPN Plus. Do I have DAZN? No. No, I don't. I thought that was only for boxing. But anyway, yeah, so that's a little disappointing. And then you have UFC 239 with John Jones facing Thiago Santos for the light heavyweight championship. And Amanda Nunes will be defending her bantamweight. They have baseball on DAZN also. Oh, cool. What was I just going to say? Oh, yeah. So UFC 239 will be, I'm not sure where that one is, but UFC 239, I'm sorry to go off topic. Dude, you're fine. Don't worry about it. You didn't do anything wrong. I don't mind interacting with, you're a viewer on here, so I don't mind interacting with you. You went a little off topic. No big deal. Don't worry about it. So UFC 239, I think that's going to be in Vegas. Let me double check on that. UFC 239. Yes, it will be in Vegas, and it will be John Jones against Thiago Santos for the light heavyweight championship, which is 205. And then the co-main event will be for the women's bantamweight belt when Amanda Nunes defends against Holly Holm. So we'll see if Nunes ever defends the featherweight belt, which she won from Chris Cyborg at UFC 232. Which, coincidentally, the main event for UFC 232 was Jones against Gustafsson. So it's just interesting that Jones and Nunes are on the same card together again, and they're both defending championships. Now, here's the one thing. The last time these two were on a card, it was Nunes challenging for a belt. She was challenging for Cyborg's featherweight belt. But still, I still think it's interesting that they're both on the same card again. So, will we ever see Cyborg in the UFC again? I don't know. Will we see Nunes defend the featherweight belt again? I don't know. The UFC has actually talked about getting rid of the flyweight division for men because nothing's really happening with that division. And I've heard, I can't confirm, and this is all just speculation. I'm not saying that for sure the UFC is canceling or is getting rid of the men's flyweight division. No, I'm not saying that. Not saying that. It's all just speculation and rumors. Okay? Okay. I just wanted to clarify that. And then the other thing is that the women's featherweight division hasn't really gotten off the ground. No pun intended. Get it? Featherweight, gotten off the ground. Yeah, it's kind of funny. But anyway, it really hasn't done anything. So I've heard that, the UFC might get rid of that division. Again, that's just a rumor. And I'm just speculating. Nothing is official. Again, it's all just speculation. I just want to clarify that. I like making sure that you understand that. Okay, so that's UFC 239. UFC 240, and I just found out about this yesterday, UFC is gonna try doing Max Holloway against Frankie Edgar again. I think this is like the second or third time the UFC has tried to make this fight, and every time one of them gets injured. The first time it was that Edgar got injured, and Holloway got removed from didn't want to fight anybody else or something. And then the second time, it was Holloway who got injured, and Brian Ortega fought Edgar instead. That's when Cyborg stepped in against Yana Kunitskaya. Yeah, I don't know why Holloway is still trying at 145. I mean, yeah, he got beat against Dustin Poirier for the interim lightweight belt, but I think lightweight is 155 pounds, for those of you who do not know that. But I think lightweight is where Holloway needs to be. Now, I'm not sure Holloway is the best matchup for Khabib, though. Because, yes, Holloway is quick and all that, but you can't – if Khabib is able to take you down and keep you on your ground, you can't use your lightning quick strikes or your, speed and stay on your feet if you're constantly being taken down. Of course, we know that Dustin Poirier won the interim lightweight belt, so he will face Khabib, and that should be a pretty interesting matchup. We'll see. So, and UFC 241, of course, Cormier will be defending the heavyweight belt against Stipe Miocic at Honda Center. And I would love to go to that fight, but I don't think I'll be able to. But here's my question. What's it going to take for the Octagon to come back to Cleveland? The last time it was here was UFC 203. Since then, they've done Dallas twice. Brian Ortega or Justin Gaethje are the only one I see being Khabib. I don't know if Ortega could beat Khabib. I don't think so. I could, and I don't think Gaethje could either. I don't know if a speed guy is what it's going to take to beat Khabib. I'm not sure. But when is the Octagon going to come back to Cleveland? To Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse? Oh, right. It might sound weird that I'm saying Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse, but due to renovations, Quicken Loans Arena, or as we know it here in Cleveland, the Q, is now being called Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse. And the UFC came to Cleveland for UFC 203 when Stipe defended the heavyweight belt against Alistair Overeem. And I was at that fight, so you should go check out those videos from when I was there if you haven't done that yet. I might put a thumbnail for that playlist like here at some point. After this stream is over, obviously. But since UFC 203, the Octagon has gone to Dallas twice for UFC 211 and UFC 228. Right. UFC 203 is when Overeem thought he felt a tap, which obviously there was no validity to that. Let's see. The Octagon has been to Madison Square Garden twice, which I don't want to or 3 times actually. I don't want to compare Cleveland and Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse to Madison Square Garden. But you get my point. And this will be the second time that the Octagon has been to Chicago. And this will be like the second time since Cleveland that the Octagon will go to Anaheim. So I'm just wondering, does Jessica Ai or Stipe Miocic need to win a championship for the Octagon to come back to Cleveland? Because that's why the Octagon came to Cleveland in the first place, is because Stipe defeated Overeem at UFC 203 when Alistair thought Stipe tapped. But that's why, because Miocic defeated Verdum in Curitiba, Brazil at UFC 198 when Verdum was like coming forward for some reason, and it looked like Miocic was trying to parry Verdum's attack, and he just got to punch it. Yeah, Stipe and Jessica Ai both have tough tasks, because you're right, Valentina Shevchenko is no walk in the park, and obviously Cormier is a Hall of Famer. And that fight is tough for me because I like Cormier. He's one of my favorite fighters. But Stipe's my hometown guy. So, I mean, I was disappointed after UFC 226. And, of course, I want Stipe to win. But at the same time, it's not that I don't dislike Cormier. I'm just saying. And I want to take you back to UFC 203 for a second. And I would love to go to a press conference for the UFC and ask Daniel Cormier about this. Now, this might sound like a stupid question to ask Cormier, but I want to say it anyway. So this was when the UFC was still on Fox. And the Octagon was in Cleveland. So that might be part of it. But anyway, Miocic had just defeated Overeem. And so Cormier is asking him a question. And he goes, our Browns, our Cavaliers, our Monsters, our Indians. And I'm thinking, DC, you're not from Cleveland. You're from, you fight out of Albuquerque, New Mexico. At American Kickboxing Academy, AKA. And I don't think you were born in Cleveland. So what's your connection to Cleveland? Or were you just saying that because Stipe is because the fight just took place in Cleveland? I would love to know. I would love to meet Cormier or Miocic. They're two of my favorite fighters. So it's a little bit of a shame for me that they're fighting each other. And to add on, Cormier filmed like a special with Stipe in Cleveland. So that adds a little intrigue to me. Look at it as a win-win. I mean, it's just hard for me. I'm not sure who I should root for. Should I root for my favorite UFC fighter? Or should I root for my hometown guy? Should I root that Cormier keeps the belt? Or should I support Stipe and hope that he brings the championship back to Cleveland? For me, with UFC 238, it's easy. I'm not rooting for Valentina Shevchenko. I'm rooting for Jessica Ai. She's from Cleveland, fights at Strong Style, which is where Stipe also trains. So I'm definitely rooting for Jessica Ai. So, I guess this just became a little bit of an episode of Talking UFC. Thanks, unemployed Mario Yamasaki. Appreciate it. I love talking UFC. I forgot how much fun it is. But, So, those are your upcoming pay-per-views. I actually want to see how far back I can go. Okay, so we just had UFC 237, and I think Stipe has a better underdog story. Yeah, I would agree, except do you say that because he was just champion and set the record for the most title defenses in UFC heavyweight history? Is that why you're saying that? I'm just writing something super quick. Excuse me. So we just had UFC 237, and Andrade defeat Jessica Andrade. Dana kicked him to the curb, and he also has the Rocky aura about him. I can see that. So I want to see how far back I can go. So UFC 237, Andrade defeated Namajunas for the strawweight championship. UFC 236, Dustin Poirier defeated Max Holloway for the interim lightweight belt. And in the co-main event, Israel Adesanya defeated Kelvin Gastelum for the interim middleweight belt. Middleweight is 185 pounds. So Adesanya will face Robert Whittaker, presumptively, for the middleweight belt at some point. Let's see. UFC 235, John Jones defeated Anthony Smith. And there was one other championship that I believe. Who was the other one? Oh, Kamaru Usman defeated Tyron Woodley for the welterweight belt. That's what it is. UFC 234 was supposed to be Robert Whittaker against Kelvin Gastelum for the middleweight belt, but Whittaker had to have emergency surgery, so instead it was Adesanya against Anderson Silva, just a middleweight bout, so it was a 3-round fight. Let's see. UFC 233 was hold on, don't tell me. Sports Live in the ATL. Hey, I'm far. What? What do you mean you're far? Hey, I'm far. Busy. How you been? I'm far. What? What do you mean? How did you I've been good. I got my wisdom teeth taken out on Friday, and apparently, I'm a miracle child because I haven't really been experiencing any swelling. I haven't had to take pain medications left and right. I've only had to take a couple Motrin. Yeah, I've been fine. So, people are shocked at how well I'm doing. Yeah. What was UFC 233? I can't remember. UFC 233. Oh, yeah, UFC 233 didn't happen. It got canceled for some reason. Okay, so UFC 232, John Jones defeated Alexander Gustafsson for the vacant light heavyweight belt. Thanks. I will. I'm working at a sleepaway summer camp, so I'm not sure how many videos I'll be able to make. I won't be able to live stream. Dillashaw Cejudo was supposed to be UFC 233, but it never happened. It got changed into UFC Fight Night Brooklyn. Okay, so UFC 232 was Jones against Gustafsson for the vacant light heavyweight belt, and Jones won that by TKO. And in the co-main event, it was Cyborg against Nunes for the featherweight belt, and Nunes won in the first round. UFC 231 was, I believe, Holloway against Ortega. Yes. Holloway against Ortega, and Holloway won that by TKO at round 4. And the co-main event, Valentina Shevchenko defeated Joanna Jędrzejczyk to win the women's flyweight belt. UFC 230 was Daniel Cormier against Derek Lewis for the heavyweight belt, and of course Cormier won that. UFC 229 was, I'm not going to keep going for long because I don't want to bore you with trying to remember all these fights. Maybe I'll do that at some other point, but we'll see. I could probably go back to UFC 190, probably UFC 189, maybe 188, but I don't want to go all the way that far back. Let's see, or maybe I will. UFC 229 was Khabib against McGregor, and we all know how that ended. Khabib choked out McGregor, and then all hell broke loose. UFC 228 was Woodley against Darren Till, and Woodley won by choke, which was shocking because Woodley is known for his knockout power, although he looked like crap against Kamaru Usman. And Woodley was supposed to face Robbie Lawler in a rematch of their welterweight fight. But Woodley got injured. Who's your favorite fighter aside from Stipe and Cormier? Also, what was your favorite fight? Well, I didn't really get into UFC too much until Stipe defeated Verdum at UFC 198, actually. So, yeah. So, that's a hard one. UFC 203 was my favorite fight because that was my first live fight, and it was in my hometown here in Cleveland. Anyway, so UFC 227 was Dillashaw against Garbrandt 2, and Demetrius Johnson against Henry Cejudo, and Dillashaw won against Cody Garbrandt, and Henry Cejudo defeated Demetrius Johnson. Now Demetrius Johnson isn't even in the UFC anymore. He's in like one fighting or something. UFC 226 was Stipe against Cormier, and unfortunately, and fortunately all at the same time, Cormier defeated Miocic. Again, I have mixed feelings about that. UFC 225, I don't remember UFC 225. That might have been for the interim middleweight belt. Maybe. I don't remember. So I don't remember 225. But UFC 224 was Nunes against Raquel Pennington for the bantamweight belt. And Nunes won that. UFC 223 was Khabib against Iaquinta for the lightweight belt, although it was supposed to be Khabib against Ferguson, and then it became Khabib against Holloway, and then Khabib against Pettis, and yeah. And the co-main event was Namajunas against Jędrzejczyk for the strawweight belt. UFC 222, I don't remember that one. Oh, UFC 222 was Cyborg against Kunitskaya for the women's featherweight belt, which was originally supposed to be Holloway against Edgar for the featherweight belt. UFC 221, UFC 225 was Whitaker against Romero 2 for the middleweight. Although Romero missed weight, so I don't think it turned into a. I don't think it was a title fight. UFC 221 was supposed to be Whitaker against Rockhold for the middleweight belt, but instead it turned into Romero against Rockhold for the interim middleweight belt because Whitaker got injured. UFC 220, Stipe Miocic defeated Francis Ngannou for the heavyweight belt and set the record for the most title defenses. And Cormier defeated Volkan Ozdemir to retain the light heavyweight belt. Let's see. UFC 219 was Cyborg against Holm for the women's featherweight belt, and Cyborg won that. UFC 218 was Holloway against Aldo 2, and Holloway won that. UFC 217, Bisping against St. Pierre. St. Pierre defeated Bisping by submission. Cody Garbrandt lost to TJ Dillashaw. And Rose Namajunas defeated Joanna Jędrzejczyk. So all three belts changed hands that night. UFC 216, Ferguson defeated Kevin Lee for the interim lightweight belt. And Demetrius Johnson set the record for the most title defenses by defeating Ray Borg. That's as far back as I'm going to go. I could keep going, but I don't want to. So, the other thing I want to discuss is Kevin Durant. Supposedly, he had a secret this is just a rumor. Supposedly, Durant had, like I said, I would keep going with the pay-per-views, but I think it was getting a little too long. So I'm just going to stop with that for right now. But supposedly at like 11 something last night, and this was just a rumor that I heard from a sports app called Clutch Points. I don't know if you've ever heard of it, but supposedly Kevin Durant met with the New York Knicks, had a secret meeting. I don't know how it can be secret if a media outlet found out about it. But anyway, supposedly, and again, this is just speculation and rumor. I can't confirm anything. I'm not here to say, this is Josh Unger's officially saying that Durant met with the New York Knicks. No, I'm just saying as speculation. Supposedly, Durant met with the New York Knicks last night. Hey, what's up, Kivo? What's up? So supposedly, Kevin Durant met with the New York Knicks last night and they have a handshake agreement. I think it would be a mistake for Durant to go to the New York Knicks. They have nothing. I mean, yeah, they have Dennis Smith Jr. and Kevin Knox, and they're nice pieces, but they're not enough to win a championship. If I was Kevin Durant and I were to leave the Golden State Warriors, I wouldn't go to the New York Knicks. I would go to the other New York team, the Brooklyn Nets. Now, they got eliminated in the first round by the Philadelphia 76ers. I get that. But the Nets at least have something. They have D'Angelo Russell. KD to my Knicks. We'll see about that, Kivo. Again, I'm just saying, I heard that report last night that Durant met with the Knicks in a secret meeting and they have a handshake. I don't know. Nothing is official. I didn't see anything from ESPN or the NBA app. I saw it on a app called Clutch Points. However you want to take that. Anyway, so I think Durant, if he were to leave the Warriors and he wanted to go to New York, he should go to the Brooklyn Nets. They have D'Angelo Russell, although he got in a little bit of trouble because of substances. They have Jared Allen, who I think is a nice center. And they have a couple other good players. Spencer Dinwiddie can play well. Yeah. But I think the team that he really should consider is actually a division rival for the Warriors, but not the Lakers. The Lakers are too dysfunctional. So, no, I'm talking about the Clippers. Clippers have a nice foundation, and I like what they're doing. And they pushed the Warriors to 6 games in the first round, and they were an 8 seed. Lord Farquaad Sandos, let's go Dubs. Yeah, the Warriors are going to make the NBA Finals, but if they play the Milwaukee Bucks in the finals, if they don't have Kevin Durant, the Warriors are not going to win the title. They need Durant to beat the Milwaukee Bucks in the finals. I'm just saying that. Now, if the Warriors were to somehow play the Raptors in the finals, yeah, the Warriors wouldn't need Durant. You're right. And in general, I don't think the Warriors need Durant. Durant was just, I'm borrowing this from other analysts, but I'm going to use it anyway. Durant has just been kind of this luxury car. So I'm modifying what people have said. Like, I've heard analysts say Durant has just been a luxury. So I'm just going to say Durant has been a luxury car that the Warriors have, had the pleasure of driving. But they don't need it. They could have like a regular Buick or a BMW, a more basic car. Something like that. I mean, they're showing right now that they don't need Durant. I mean, Portland has put up somewhat of a fight, but just in general, like, look at what they did in the last game against Houston. And now, because of that game against Houston, because of what happened in Game 5 and Game 6, when the Warriors did not have Durant, I don't want to hear any excuses from Rockets fans about, if we had Chris Paul in Game 7 in the 2018 NBA Western Conference Finals, we would have beaten the Warriors. You can't use that excuse now because you had the Warriors on the ropes in Game 5, for most of Game 5 and all of Game 6, without a healthy Kevin Durant, and you still lost. So you Rockets fans, I'm sorry, but your argument about saying, if Chris Paul didn't get injured, we would have won the series. No, I don't want to hear it. And also, where does James Harden go? Why? I think the playoffs are just too much pressure for him. But there's another problem I see with the Houston Rockets. And that's Mike D'Antoni. For some reason, actually, it's not just Mike D'Antoni. It's the Rockets coaching staff, I'll say. They're just too stubborn of a team. Here's why. Because the Rockets have, in the regular season, the Rockets are able to beat teams with isolation basketball. But that's because they're not usually playing stiff competition every night. They might be playing a team like Memphis or Chicago. No offense to those teams, but neither team is that good. Although Memphis just got the second pick, so we'll see. They'll get John Morant, I think, and they could become a little bit better of a team. But anyway, once you get to the playoffs, you're playing teams like Golden State or the Clippers or Portland or Denver, San Antonio. And isolation just doesn't work. But for some reason, Houston is just set in their ways. And they go, this is what worked in the regular season. It's got to work in the postseason. No, that's not how it goes. And again, your last 2 playoff appearances have shown that. And might I add that I don't remember what year it was, but there was this game, a series between the Rockets and Spurs in the playoffs where in Game 6, I want to say, the Rockets were down 3-2. It was in Houston, and the Spurs had a bunch of injuries, and Harden was a shell of himself, couldn't hit his shot for his life. And the Spurs won and eliminated the Rockets. I want to say it was 2016. I think. I might be wrong on that. But Harden to me, James Harden's playoff legacy is absolutely destroyed. Actually, I wrote something about this. So I'll read you what I wrote. Hold on, let me find it. Oh, so on May 10th, when the Warriors defeated the Rockets, this is what I said. I wrote, James Harden's playoff legacy is officially destroyed. I believe that he is a regular season player, and that's it. He crumbles in the playoffs, especially when it is a must-win game. Harden crumbles under pressure. Harden is a regular season man and nothing more than that. And to me, and that's, so do I think he should win the MVP this season? No. I mean, yeah, he put up all these great numbers, but then gets to the playoffs and you're like, where are you, James Harden? I can't find you. Or, oh no, there's pressure. And this is what James Harden does. Oh no, pressure. No, hide. Okay, maybe that's a little over dramatic, but you get my point. So, one more thing before I end this live stream. And I know I've vented about this in a couple videos, but I'm going to do it again anyway. If you have seen my videos, then you probably know that I enjoy watching old games on my iPad, whether it's Game 6 of the 2013 World Series between the Cardinals and Red Sox, or Game 3 of that same World Series between the Red Sox and Cardinals, which ended in an obstruction, or Game 7 of the 2013 NBA Finals between the Spurs and Heat, or Game 7 of the 2016 NBA Finals between the Cavaliers and Warriors, in which we came back from a 3-1 deficit to defeat the Golden State Warriors, which was aided by Draymond Green getting suspended. But that's not the main reason why we won. But I don't want to talk about that. But I also enjoy watching NBA games of the year, like Cavaliers at Miami from Christmas when LeBron went back to Miami, or Warriors at Thunder. Actually, let me just read you this post that I made, kind of venting a little bit. So, here's what I wrote. This was on Wednesday at around 11 o'clock. Dear iTunes, I'm very disappointed in you, and here's why. I love going back and watching old NBA games, whether that's NBA games of the year or the NBA playoffs. And I would love to go on and download more episodes, but I can't do that right now. An example of games I might want to download would be games like 2019 Eastern Conference Semifinals, Game 7, Philadelphia 76ers at Toronto Raptors. Kobe Bryant's last game against the Utah Jazz, 2015 NBA Finals, Games 2 and 3, between the Cleveland Cavaliers and Golden State Warriors, or Game 7 of the 2018 Eastern Conference Finals between the Cleveland Cavaliers and the Boston Celtics, or all of the 2016 Western Conference Finals between the Golden State Warriors and Oklahoma City Thunder. But guess what? I can't get any of those games right now. You want to know why? Well, the reason is because of you, iTunes. iTunes decided to take away NBA games of the year and the NBA playoffs and decided to make them unavailable in the United States for some strange reason. But guess what? I'm not going outside of the United States anytime soon. So I'm very frustrated and angry with you, iTunes. Sincerely, Josh M. Unger. Don't know what I'm talking about? Well, let me show you an example. Here, I'm in my TV app, okay? So I'm going to click on TV shows. And I'm going to go to NBA Games of the Year, 2014-2015. You can see I've got Oklahoma City at Cleveland, Cleveland against Golden State, Cleveland against Miami, and Cleveland against San Antonio. So let's say I want to get more episodes. I would just click Get More Episodes, and I'll show you. It says, I am not available. The item you requested is currently not available in U.S. stores. Here's another example. Let's say I want to get an NBA playoff game. Look, I have all of these. I have a bunch. The 2013 NBA Finals, 2016 NBA Finals, 2016 Eastern Conference Finals, and a couple other select playoff games. But let's say I want to click, I want more. Maybe all of the 2014 NBA Finals, for example. I click Get More Episodes, and it says, I am not available. The item you requested is not currently available in the U.S. store. So it's very frustrating to me because, like I said, I'm not going to leaving the U.S. anytime soon. So it's very frustrating to me. So I think I'm going to end this live stream now. So hope you enjoyed it. If you did, punch that like button like a UFC fighter and punch that red button with the letter S in front of it. I don't think YouTube wants us saying that actual word, so I'm not going to. And I don't know if I'll be able to live stream that much over the next couple months because I'm not going to bring my laptop to camp because I don't want to risk losing it. But I might be able to make some regular videos, so be on the lookout for those. And go watch Blues Sharks today because the Stanley Cup Western Conference Finals has been fun. Hopefully, whoever wins the West beats the Boston Bruins in the Stanley Cup Final. Boston doesn't need another championship. And I will always have a vendetta against the Boston Bruins. Why? Because the Blue Jackets eliminated in the Tampa Bay Lightning in the first round and made it to the second round of the Stanley Cup playoffs for the first time in franchise history. And then the Boston Bruins proceeded to eliminate them in 6 games. So I had supported them for a little bit, but after the Bruins eliminated us, there's no way I can support them. No, because I'm a diehard Columbus Blue Jackets fan. So I can't support the Bruins. So I'll always have my support for the Bruins went out the window. That window to be exact. Both metaphorically and literally. I opened that window at some point and threw my support for the Bruins out there. I actually literally cried when the Blue Jackets lost in Game 6, 3-0. My dad wasn't too happy about that, but I think it's fine that I cried. And I will always hold a V for vendetta against them. And usually, when I hold up a V like that, it's because I'm supporting my favorite college basketball team, the Villanova Wildcats. But in this case, I have a vendetta against the Boston Bruins because they eliminated us in the 2018 Stanley Cup playoffs, second round. So, I hope the Sharks win today, and although the only drawback I have to San Jose winning the Western Conference is that the first 2 championships have been Boston against California. You know, we had the Red Sox against the Dodgers in the World Series. Then we had the Patriots against the Rams in the Super Bowl, which I'm not a Patriots fan. I don't like them. So I wouldn't buy a Patriots film. But there was this cool film on iTunes that I just thought was really interesting called, Oh, What's Up, Blazer Ingram? But there was this just really cool film I found about the 3 playoff games that the Patriots played in called 3 Games to Glory. And it chronicles key plays from each game and all that. So I did end up buying that. And it also has some extras where Coach Belichick discusses various key plays that happen in those 3 games. So that's like the only Patriots thing I'll buy, probably ever. Yeah. So when the Patriots lose, I'm happy. I think most of America is. I don't know how to feel about the Patriots because I don't like them. But at the same time, people get offended when I call them the cheat-reits, possibly because I say that too much. And by the same token, you can't prove that they actually cheated. But on the other side of the coin, you can't prove that they didn't cheat. So, for me, so much for ending this live stream, I guess. So, anyway, for me, I guess it's some of the Patriots Super Bowls are valid, and some of them I would say are invalid. That's how I'll say it. I actually did talk about the Knicks' future in this video, Flazier Ingram, and I will discuss that a little bit more. I'm not a Knicks fan, but I think it would be great for the NBA if the Knicks were actually good again. Then, yeah, I think Durant should go to the Nets or Clippers. Although I think the Clippers should move out of LA and go to Seattle. Number one, because Seattle deserves an NBA team again, because they absolutely got screwed by Howard Schultz and Clay Bennett. So I'm just going to bring politics into this for a minute. Howard Schultz is running for president. Personally, because of what he did to the city of Seattle, I will not vote for him. Now, that might sound like a silly reason, but that's just my personal choice. And, yeah, so I wish maybe Steve Ballmer will move the Clippers out of LA and move them to Seattle. Don't know. Although I've heard that the Clippers are trying to move out of Staples Center and at least get their own arena somewhere else in LA. Maybe Englewood. Kurum. Yes, move the Clippers out of LA. Well, Seattle is getting an NHL team in 2021. Maybe if there's enough support for the NHL team in Seattle, the NBA will be like, we made a mistake. LA is a Lakers town? As of right now, no. LA is not a Lakers town. LA is a Clippers town, I would say, actually, right now. The Lakers are a mess. I mean, Magic Johnson just left without saying anything to anyone. And he's the reason LeBron went to the Lakers. Although I think the other reason is because LeBron wanted to be in movies, but still, he went to play with the Lakers because of Magic Johnson. And then Magic Johnson just said, oh, yeah, by the way, I'm leaving. Yeah, the Clippers are better than the Lakers. I mean, and with New York, New York is a Knicks town. I will agree because Brooklyn and New York are I get that Brooklyn is in New York, but it feels like Brooklyn and New York are completely separate. So I don't think New York will ever actually support the Brooklyn Nets, even though the Nets are doing better than the Knicks. I know that was kind of a weird jumble. Knicks will win the championship soon. Well, that depends. It depends on if Durant goes to the Knicks, which I will say again, according to an app that I have on my phone called Clutch Points, there is a rumor that at around 11:45 Eastern time last night, Durant had a secret meeting with the New York Knicks and had a handshake agreement. Now, I don't know how you can call it a secret meeting when a media outlet gets a hold of it, but whatever. So we'll see. But I think that if Durant were to leave Golden State, he should go to the Clippers or the Nets, not the Knicks. The Knicks, I'm sorry, not the Knicks. The Knicks, yes, they have Dennis Smith Jr. and Kevin Knox, but that's not really enough. If I'm Kevin Durant, that's not enough to attract me to. And yes, playing in Madison Square Garden every day sounds cool, but yeah, move the Clippers back to San Diego. Yeah, I mean, San Diego never should have lost the Chargers. I'm very upset about that because I'm a huge Chargers fan, mostly because my favorite player of all time, LaDainian Tomlinson, played for the Chargers. So I was very disappointed when the Chargers announced that they were moving out of San Diego and joining the Rams in LA. I don't love that the Rams moved out of St. Louis either. I mean, I don't mind that Los Angeles got an NFL team. I don't mind that. I just don't like it when a team moves out of one city and moves to another. So I have to end this live stream because my computer is dangerously low on power. So again, I hope you enjoyed this live stream. If you did, punch that like button like a UFC fighter. And I'm just going to say it. Punch that subscribe button. Until next time, this is Unger to the Max signing off. A salute to you. Go watch Blues against the Sharks at 3 o'clock on NBC.